and welcome to another episode of Your Health Collective. Today it's all about sugar. Do you uncontrollably crave sugar and then beat yourself up again when you can't actually say no? Sugar is everywhere and we can't hide it. So today's episode, let's debunk it. Where do we find sugar, Dee?
So sugar is found in a lot of naturally occurring foods, so things like fruits and vegetables all contain some form of sugar. For today's episode, we're not talking about those forms of sugar. We're really referring to the more refined, highly processed forms of sugar. And that's things like white table sugar. That sort of sugar is incorporated into a lot of processed and packaged foods, and often foods that we wouldn't even think contain sugar are full of sugar.
Yeah, we find it everywhere now.
We've
really
do.
got the taste as a society for what sugar actually gives a product.
That's it, yeah, we do.
So how does sugar actually affect us, Elise?
That is a very good question. So the way that sugar affects us, and specifically why we continually crave sugar, is that it actually, when we consume sugar and high sugar foods, it triggers off the pleasure center in the brain, similar to the way that drugs do. So the more that we consume sugar, the more that we crave sugar. Sugar is a recreational drug, so enjoy it appropriately and with caution.
I think that's a good point, and I think we can probably all identify to have been on that sugar roller coaster. So, you know, starting your day with maybe a sugary food or a sugary breakfast cereal will give you that bit of a high, doesn't it?
So that's something like toast is considered as a sugary breakfast cereal.
Toast and jam. Even
toast
more.
and jam, a very high sugar breakfast.
Yeah, so how does that send us on a roller coaster?
So that ups our blood sugar levels. So pretty quickly, we absorb that very quickly. We feel great for maybe about 20 minutes, half an hour, and then slowly it starts to come down. And as we start to come down, that's when we want more sugar.
And when we get to that rock bottom is sort of when we start to feel fatigued, and when we start to, our energy levels slump, when our mood starts to go flat, and we sort of then start to crave more because we're craving that next hit.
Yeah.
Is that what we're sort of talking about?
Yeah, and you know when you feel like that, you really don't want to eat maybe some avocado, do you? You want to eat
more
some sugar.
Yeah, sugar gives you the energy quickly.
That's it. That's the thing that's going to get you back up very quickly. Yeah, and that brings you back up on that roller coaster, and then you crash down again. And I think we know roller coasters are fun, but not all day. Just once a day. that's
Once
it.
is fine, not all day.
Not all day.
And that roller coaster can actually be sort of dampened down if you have your sort of sugar sort of hit from fruits and veggies, but if you had it in conjunction with maybe protein and fat, that actually helps control it. So you're not necessarily on a roller coaster, but you might be on a nice cruise.
Pretty fun ride
throughout
for the
day.
Yeah.
So particularly when we're craving sugar in the afternoon, I know a lot of people, that 3 p.m. slump in energy levels as well is often really due to what you're eating at lunchtime in particular. So, you know, including some protein and fatty foods, good fats obviously, will help to negate that roller coaster effect that we're talking about and stabilise your blood sugar levels a little bit more evenly throughout the day.
Yeah, and it's a great too at that 3 p.m. instead of going for the chocolate bar, going for something with protein and a little bit of sustenance. So think about maybe a handful of nuts. I know it sounds boring, but it's actually really good for you.
Absolutely.
Something with protein. It can be a chicken drumstick. It doesn't have to be something fancy. It's protein and something good quality fat will get you through that sort of few hours.
Or maybe even a healthier form of something slightly sweet. So maybe using cacao nibs instead of a really sugary chocolate, for instance, would be a better version.
Yeah.
Can we have too much of a natural sugar though? Is that something that we can do?
Yes. So even if you choose a natural sugar, it will still send you on a roller coaster ride. Yeah. And that's what I think people have to be really careful of, is it's still mindfully, in appropriate ways, in appropriate amounts as well with sugar.
Yeah, and too much of a good thing is still too much. We've got to remember that. You know, even though there's a lot of alternatives to sugar that are around at the moment, I think that we've got to be aware that when we're talking about how that actually affects the brain and how that affects cravings, that even if we're going for these sugar alternatives, which may be healthier, it's still sending the same sorts of messages to the brain and you know, to want more and need more throughout the day.
Yeah. So sugar as well has an actual impact on our digestive system. So if you have a high sugar diet, it actually feeds a lot of the bad bacteria in our gut. So the negative effects of that, Dee?
Negative effects of feeding those bad bacteria. Those bacteria are there to support every aspect of our health. So number one, they'll make you crave more sugar because they love to eat sugar, those bad bacteria. But they'll also really affect your immune system health and also your energy levels. So it means that your immune system, when a cold or flu comes along, you don't have the ability to fight it as efficiently as what you should. And that has a flow-on effect to then maybe bigger diseases if we don't address that sugar impact in our body.
And that energy, I think, is a really important one. That sugar, we always have the perception that it gives us energy, but actually long-term sugar use actually will decrease your energy.
And decrease immune system and immune function. When we're eating sugar, it actually suppresses our immune system and our ability to fight off infection, like you said, for quite some time. And if we're constantly consuming sugar, our immune system is going to be quite dampened down.
Yeah, absolutely. So sugar can have some great effects if you're looking for maybe that little bit of that hypo, but it's definitely, we don't want the roller coaster ride at all when we come to sugar. So there's lots of different alternatives to sugar out there, and we want you to jump onto our website and download our form. It has lots of information on there to swap which sugars for which. You can also jump onto our Facebook group, join in the conversation. We want to know how sugar affects you, and we're there to answer any of your questions. Thanks for joining us on Your Health Collective. We'll see you again.